I said, you know.
Wow.
You're got a great personality. Now, you could have talked to us today about virtual reality. I'm just curious, how many in the room has it already in their schools?
VR in schools, anybody? Any form of it? Yes. So for those who don't know, I see some new faces in the crowd today. So this is me. This is Lori. Lori and I have we tag teamed this a little bit. No big deal.
Oh no, we updated it.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I grabbed this one off. Maybe this was John's
the
old
newer
one.
ones. Here, look. But
So I apologize for this long bio. I didn't realize I was giving you my Facebook profile. We actually submitted a similar type of presentation to the ACTE, the Association of Career and Technical Education, to give a presentation at a conference in Anaheim, California. So we had to, Lori is pregnant and can't quite make that trip with a 5-month-old. So they said, hey, do you want to go to California? I said, yes! Wait, what do I have to do? You got to present on VR. I'm like, easy. I had to do that over the plane. And then I said, well, who's going with me? And they're like, oh, by yourself. And I'm like, I'm going to go by myself. So naturally, I'm going to go to Disneyland and visit the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. And I'm going to bring my wife and daughter along. And I said, let's go. We'll make this a family trip. So we're hoping to find out at the end of April if we got accepted or not, which is pretty exciting. I had to join the conference to be a member. So I've been working at Mercy for 8 years now. And I broke in there, actually, again, full circle, subbing, long-term sub for a teacher on maternity leave. So in the English department, I'm an English major from Gwinnett Mercy College, Gwinnett Mercy University now, and always had a little, tech savviness to myself, built my own computer 10 years ago, all that fun stuff. All that stuff you do on the weekend, right? And the tech job opened up, and he just left in the middle of the year. And they were like, you want to do it? I'm like, yes, I want to stay here. This is a good place to be. Mercy's been around in 1950, and we've been doing technical education for a long time. The Archdiocese is just realizing that this is important. So I'm not patting ourselves on our own back, but we've been doing it first, and we do a pretty damn good job at it. And you should come out to our school and visit our programs. We have 7 programs. You want to eat good? Visit our culinary program. You want something fixed in your house? We have a building trades program. It's not just carpentry. It's not just electrical. You're doing masonry. They're doing HVAC. They're doing plumbing. A lot of great stuff happening in the building trades program. We have a business class of 3.5 years. All of our programs are 3.5 years. So think about it, 14, 15 years old. You have to make your first big decision. You're going to stick with a career for 3.5 years. That's a little scary based on our culture today, which we will jump from job to job now. The new younger generation coming up, they're going to have like 5 to 7 jobs before they land. That's true. So we're developing an 8th program, which is basically called Diversified Occupations. We're going to teach you a little bit of everything. So then you can decide later on what you want to do. It's kind of a cool little concept that we're playing around with. So I teach the computer service technician course, which is basically level 1 tech support. You have an issue, I don't know how you do it at your school, you send out a tech ticket, and then someone shows up on time, right? They're never late. See, if you're snickering, that means we're doing our job right. See, we never show up on time because it means that we're wanted. Okay? And, I always get these weird tech issues, like Ed had his tech issue, he couldn't, get his laptop up on the source, so I switched, I hit a button, got it up and running, and then billed him $75. It's pretty easy, it's no problem. So I was telling him that I have the kids, my kids, I go, all right, everybody, we got a lot of 1T and Ds around here. 1D, 10Ts around here, which if you spell it out, means idiot. And we have to, be patient with our people because, we are level 1 tech support, and it's very exciting. So the kids in a career tech, I'm just going to kind of harp a little bit on career technical education because I know you're getting into it. The kids love being in your shop programs. There is not one day in which they're miserable. One, they choose, it's like an elective, so they choose you, so that's naturally exciting. So it's one and be wanted instead of knowing about matrices. I know we talked about it earlier, but it's, it's pretty cool. So I have 19 students in the morning between freshmen and sophomores. I teach them at the same time, 2 different curriculums at the same time. But it all leads up to the end goal, which is passing our certifications. So they can pass school, but we do get them their industry standard certifications. I don't know if you've ever heard of Carchidi, but that is a very worldwide known, very difficult exam that we get these kids to pass. So it's pretty cool. Every single shop has some sort of feel to it. So please, I encourage you to come out, visit our school, especially if you're getting into CTE, and if you want to see the secrets. I'm not telling you now. You got to come out, and then you can see the secrets of how we go about doing it. FYI, you are being filmed right now with my 360 camera. Okay, so you got to look happy. Okay, look happy. All right. The 360 camera is a nice tool. We have 3 of them. Why do you need this? Well, 1, they're pretty cool. 2, easy to use. 3, kids like it. I'm using it now just to kind of show you how it works, and then I'll send out to the doctor on video out a little bit later. But any of these headsets can view the 360 video, including your own cell phones. So, we'll let that roll on right now. By the way, it's been rolling for 10 minutes, so I hope nobody was picking their nose, because we're going to be able to see it. Okay? This is in my face right now. I don't know how close I am. It stitches and then picks up the other camera on this side. So it's a full fisheye 180, and then through the magic of the program, it seamlessly makes that disappear. And then so as I'm walking around, you can actually view on the VR headset as I'm going around. So now think about this. You have something that you want to demonstrate to your students, but you have different stations. You set up your 360 camera in the middle of the room, and then you flow around your room demonstrating little things, and you're making them physically move in their headsets to engage you. So they're not just like, who's fallen into YouTube holes? Me, definitely. But now you're like, where'd everything go? You have to turn around and you got to look and you got to look up and down. So there's a lot of creative things you can end up doing with this. I put this in a running computer, just filmed for 30 seconds, and then the kids can actually see the fans spinning and different things happening in there, just to kind of get a cool idea. So a lot of good stuff using VR in the classroom. This will be sort of similar if you came to the workshop in the summer with Bill Brannick and his crew, wonderful crew there. But we've improved this program. I'll be honest with you, I didn't really believe in it to start, because I think that to get people's hands in them, there's a lot of hoops to jump through. Someone's got to maintain it. The hard. This is actually a headset that doesn't even work anymore. It's a $500 headset that doesn't work. And HTC was like, oh yeah, you can send it in for free, but you might owe us some money. And I'm like, no. So there's always those headaches that you go through with the different pieces of equipment. But once we got the kids into the headsets and the teachers creating lesson plans, and we put them through a regimented program, a training on, I'm a math teacher, how am I going to do this? Or I'm a business teacher, how am I going to do, that's the hardest part, is trying to figure out how to do it. And you really got to think outside of the box. You're going to take your traditional lesson plan, and then you're really just going to enhance it, right? That's the whole idea of technology, was never to replace things. It was to enhance the current lesson. If you ever heard of the Sammer model, it's eventually the whole idea of the camera is so you put that tool in their hand and they're creating their content and then they're teaching, right? That's the whole idea, and that's why we got to take them through this journey. It's easy in my class because they're already naturally excited about it. John, mentioned Mercy a lot of times, is because he was in my class teaching Python to my juniors and seniors. They were creating text-based games. The content is starting to be created, and that's not even VR, that's just general code. Mercy's thinking about doing a coding elective. We recognize this. Databasing and programming concepts is so important now. With the amount of breaches that are happening with your passwords, right, through Facebook, through credit card companies, somebody's got to hold the line, right? The wall in Game of Thrones is down, and that is your security breach. We got to build it back up. That's just the way it is. Sorry if you're not a Game of Thrones fan, I am. So the breakdown of what we're going to talk about, and I know I'm between you and leaving, which is why we started early, and we're going to get you out of here as fast as we can, all right? And now your bellies are full. This was really a trap, Edith. This is a bunch of nonsense. It's called a laugh. So we got uses of VR. We'll talk about the current stuff. We'll talk about the potential. If you're interested, if you have an Android device, you can download the Cardboard app. I have some cardboards here. We got 100 of these donated from the Franklin Institute. They are a good resource. Reach out to them. They have these, I have 2 big boxes of them still. If anybody's interested, you can feel free to take one, but only if you use it today. Right, so I want the phone, downloaded onto the phone, and then, looking at some stuff. So we can get into that. How we're using it, we'll go over some apps, lessons learned, and some successes we've had. And then if you, at the end, feel free to leave or feel free to play. Okay, that's a very important part of this process, is just like with our kids, getting hands-on activities and getting down and dirty with that. And plus, we're going to take pictures of you with the googly eyes on, and that's fun. Big concept. Let's think about it. Where is VR happening, and how can we use it to engage our BCIT students? Think about it. Give you a full 7 seconds to give me an answer. Okay. Any thoughts? I have to do the 7-second rule in class because you get the one, right? And you go, yeah, and they go, ah. And then you forget, and then it deflates you, and then you have to start all over. So I go, no, 7 seconds, real quick. 7 seconds. So where do you see it generally? How about now? Where do you see VR now? Yes, ma'am.
Well, I use Knowledge Matters virtual classes
Okay.
to supplement the entrepreneurship class and the marketing class.
So are they 360 videos in a way?
In a way, like they have to actually go onto the site and then they have to do something.
Oh,
Like
cool.
they have to, stamp the hotel or.
Oh, right, so they're very
stamp the
active.
stamp. Yeah.
Very cool. I like that. We'll have to share that resource. I'm not sure if we have that. By the way, that's the biggest hurdle, is finding the apps, the developers to make the apps. And then are they supporting the apps? And then are they getting better? Or are they buggy? There's all kinds of stuff. Think about, we took a quantum leap when the iPhone came out. When the iPhone came out, it created a web that was destroyed. If you remember Flash, Flash and animation and stuff like that, it was great, it was wonderful for a time. And then the iPhone came out and they were like, yeah, we're going to put this in 8 million people's hands immediately, and by the way, it doesn't support Flash. And web developers were like, what do you mean it doesn't support Flash? And then people couldn't get on their websites, and then it was a race, right? And just tying it back to code, it was a race to get your content back up on non-Flash. And John, I'm sure you're very familiar with that. Moving to HTML5 and CSS, what is it, 6 now or whatever it is? I don't know. Doesn't matter. Point is that we're at that crest with VR, right? We don't really know where it's going. It could fail. I was on the fail train for a while. Like, nope. I already I've dealt with this tech. I know how it fails. And then we were like, let's see if we can put 10 in a room. And that was if you know Catherine Blatt, she's very we're going to do it. And I'm like, I don't know if it's going to work. And she's like, don't care, make it happen. And I'm like, all right, let's do it. And we ended up hanging tablecloths to block the sensors. A very bizarre way of doing the lab. So VR is happening in trainings. I just heard the other day at a meeting, Honeygrow company, heard of it, right? You get hired by Honeygrow, the first day of training, you're sitting down in a headset, looking at how they're cutting the carrots, looking at how they're moving things before you even touch anything. That's created with this, right? And used as training material. Now you don't have to pay a trainer. Put them in a headset, right? Our building trade students just saw a tour of a mechanical engineering factory, looking at all the hydraulics and things like that. So training's a big one. I think there's actually a virtual one with Kentucky Fried Chicken, where you're doing movements in there. So that's pretty cool. So now think about what you could do with that, especially with CTE and the skills of that variety. Here are the levels, though. Of course, we have to make it as complicated as possible. The levels of VR are thus. 1, cell phone. Great thing about it, everybody has one for the most part, right? Most of the phones can run a 360 video or some kind of virtual environment. You just need I think Google sells these for $16. You can even make your own if you really want one. Or you could get like a fancy device called like a Daydream, which looks like this, but you still have to stick your phone in it, which means your battery life is going to be terrible, and you can't take phone calls while in VR. You know, there's all kinds of like limitations, but it's the most accessible. You're going to start to see schools, like you said, with a whole cart. But they also have to have 30 very minutes small devices, and then someone has to manage those devices, right? So how does that work? I don't even know how that works. I've never had that in my hands to manage. I manage all the Chromebooks at school. It's probably similar, but I've never had it. Can you speak to it?
With the Google Expedition classroom kits, I only know one school that has it so far in the same cabinets, but it comes with about 30 of kind of like nicer cardboard viewers, the 30 phones that are in it. They don't have any cell service or anything, they just basically have the app downloaded. And then it comes with one tablet, a teacher tablet, where what you bring up on a teacher tablet and start as a class shows up on other 30 devices. So as far as I understand, the setup is plug everything, charge it, get it hooked up to the Wi-Fi, and then just downloading apps off of the tablet, and then it streams it to the devices. So you don't have to set up 30 different devices, you just have to set up the teacher tablet.
Okay, so they're probably somehow when you get the kit. Yes? Yes, ma'am.
Bill Brandy, they have a lending library.
Right, yeah, that's new this year, right?
And yes, and you can borrow the Google.
Cool. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I mean, the big thing is what's going to be less of a pain for you in terms of setting it up, right? That's the key. It's very easy to go turn to page 48, right? That's simple technology. By the way, that never fails. Did you ever notice that when you ask it to turn to a page outside of not knowing the numbers, it never fails? This will fail over and over and over again until you figure it out. You know, that's the crappy thing about technology is that it is meant to fail, and then just comes back to problem solving. How we can get it back up and running, you know? So these kids are not only getting the experience, but they're going to be like, well, Ms. Kirk, it's not working. And you're going to say, figure it out. You don't get it working. You know, and then eventually, you know, you go through that rough patch and then you get into the smoothness and everything kind of works. These independent head-mounted devices, that's what these are. These are Oculus Go's. So what this is everything that this is, but the computer is in the headset already. You don't need to use your phone. It's now independent of the phone, and it comes with a small controller, which now gives you a little bit of interaction to whatever the game has, or whatever the app, you know, is in there. On these both headsets, I have a 360 video of our shots. Put it in our shots for a minute, not even like 30 seconds each. It's a little disorienting when you get these headsets. If you've never been into a headset, very disorienting the first time. I would recommend sitting down. We take this to open houses and recruitment. We say, oh, you want to see a school? Put the headset on. Check it out. And they get to look at the shops. They get to see culinary, you know, doing the thing. Like I said, I put the 360 camera in the middle of COS. Now I don't know if you ever stood in the middle of a bunch of girls doing nails, but it's loud and it's crowded and it's awesome. But I wouldn't want to do it physically, but I could do it virtually, right, to show off. And you can do it at your schools too. It is a good recruitment device. Oculus Go's are very accessible. They are not expensive. They are $1.99. Right? You can have a classroom. You can have a reasonable classroom set of Oculus Go's. Now, you got to play within the Oculus family, right? You know who owns Oculus? Facebook. Okay. Now, if you know anything about Facebook, they sometimes get hacked. They sometimes don't do things that they should. But Facebook bought Oculus. The whole idea with Facebook was to get everybody connected on a free platform. Okay, it's not really free to sell information to third party. You realize that? But they want to get an Oculus in everybody's hands, just like the cell phone was given to people. You know, you can get a cell phone, you can get a smartphone and get on the internet for like $45. You go to like a Metro or a Cricket or whatever. You can just, you don't have to get that $800 iPhone XR. Like, it's unnecessary. But you know, the propaganda that Apple has put out, they've done a great job making us want that new phone. They're trying to do the same thing. So they're having two new products coming out called the Oculus Quest and the Oculus Max something. I forget what it is.
It's the Oculus Rift, but S.
Yes.
Oculus Rift S.
Thank you. The difference is with that headset, you have up, down, left, right, but you don't have physical movement, right? It has no idea where you're at in the room. So whatever you're looking at, which is why I recommend sitting, because you'll have kids that drift. In the real headsets, I call them real, the fully immersive headsets, there's cameras and there's sensors. So it knows where you're at relatively in the room, which allows you to actually walk around. Now you're limited to the wire, which I put up in the ceiling. So the wires are above, so they're not tripping on them, and they can relatively move around freely. Now, if you're one of them, for research, I had to take one home and set it up in my basement and play with it, for like 4 hours. And I was playing this game. It was a music game, but you used the controllers to basically block off these orbs. It's kind of like exercise meets Dance Dance Revolution meets Beat Saber, and you could put any song into it. So naturally, I went right to any Star Wars music that I could think of, put that in there, and I regretted it because I was sweating by the end of it. And it was fully immersive. You had to turn completely and move, and things were flying around. It was a silly concept of a game, but imagine that in the educational space, PE. That kid that doesn't want to run around school, put him in a headset. You tell him to let him hit orbs. They're going to be moving, they're going to be shaking, and that's cool. The Oculus Quest, though, takes what that is, takes what this is, mixes it together, and creates a full, and they call it 6 degrees of freedom, a full 6 degrees of freedom interface, where it has 4 cameras on it, and it's reading your room. So you're freely moving around as it's, and it's seeing this, and it should put the boundary on, so now you're talking about full Ready Player One action. Westworld is happening before our eyes. And that's pretty exciting, and it's $400 to start. That's a reasonable price point for something that this headset is just $500, right? Except you need a computer. You got to attach to it. You need a pretty robust computer. Each computer, we got a grant. Please, we did not spend money on this. We got a grant to support this VR lab. Each computer is $2,000. We custom build them because computer service technician, we would save a little bit of money there. But you have $500, $2,000, and then you got to set it up and then maintain it. And we have 11 stations. Now, do the math, multiply it. That's a hard sell to a school district. It's only going to cost you $30,000 to get this set up. Where's your research? We have none, right? It's a hard sell, but we just happen to drive forward through it and put people in the headsets and, hang on. There's going to be a wild ride from here. But with the Oculus Quest, now you don't need the computer. $400 is a reasonable price point. It'll eventually go down, though I'm sure there'll be light versions of it. But you're working in the Oculus store, right? Everybody has a store these days. You're either working in the App Store or the Google Play Store. And sometimes they don't mix, right? And now you're searching for more apps. And again, it comes back to usability. What can you do with it? Who's using VR today?
Got this safety way off the hatch. She's going to help over there. Looks like the corner's pressing. Got a corner cap coming. We can kill this play.
Just take your eyes as you would through the pass protection right here. Eyes on safety.
Some protection weak. You have this safety way too far off the hash. Kind of an indicator of something coming to the weak side, some sort of pressure. So we want to kill it, get out of the run play, and get to the pass play. Send our line this way to protect the backside.
Absolutely.
60-minute sports, Tuesday, September 8th.
360 camera, put it in the middle of the football field. That's a quarterback reading the plays. Pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. It's pretty cool. VR and industries.
10 years ago, I was given the opportunity to step over and begin work in virtual reality. Virtual reality, of course, really started with gaming, right? We still build it with games engines, but we're starting to get a lot of other experimentation, and we're starting to get a lot of other industries looking into VR to figure out how they might use it with their landscape.
To me, the real potential of virtual reality is not only in how we play, but how we work. So the thing about Massive is just how quick it allows an architect to flesh out an idea. Not only just as a sketch, but this idea of the digital 3D sketch that you can experience. We've been talking about this idea of the digital world really colliding with our physical world for a long time. And that's just where we're at right now. Very beginning.
We help brands to visualize their store plans, their designs in photorealistic 3D. VR is a perfect medium for designers and retailers, and the reason why is because it gives them the ability to see exactly what their consumers are going to see. Also, we give them interactive tools so that they can create spaces themselves. When I mention virtual reality to people, a lot of times they think, wow, that's Tomorrowland. And I have to tell them, no, they're tools that are available today. And some of the world's biggest companies are investing billions of dollars in it. And if I was a retail brand, I'd be looking at that.
I think virtual reality is going to allow you to take control over the car buying experience. With a VR showroom, you can customize the car the way you want it. We also create driving simulators that allow people to experience safety features in a safe environment and actually get more informed about the products that they're interested in. What gets me up early in the morning is the pace of this technology development. It's too compelling not to be involved in it.
So one of the big differences between now and the 90s is that just the raw computational power of CPUs and GPUs has increased so much that we can actually drive complex digital environments.
We're really at a point where technology has just caught up with our imaginations, and now we've got to figure out what we're going to do with it.
Virtual reality is all coming together because not only the technology, but because there's great applications for it.
I mean, if it doesn't get you jazzed up, I don't know what it's like. It's pretty amazing what they can do. And when they're talking about CPUs and GPUs, they're talking about the actual processor and the graphics card that is driving the 3D rendering. When you play a regular game, Super Mario Brothers, let's go back. Super Nintendo, you're playing on a controller, you're side-scrolling, there's not much happening. Go into a virtual reality environment, the game has no idea where you're going to look, which means that at any second the frames have to refresh constantly, right? So the amount of power that takes, again, a few years ago would take a supercomputer to do, but now today we have these little headsets. So Moore's Law, or Murphy's, Moore's Law. Everything's getting a little tinier and tinier as we go forward, and eventually, we're going to have a microprocessor in our brain. I heard this at a conference. This guy was wild. He goes, we're going to have microprocessors in our brain that are going to be connected to synapses to allow us to do mathematical calculations without pulling out a calculator. Seems silly, but can you do 46 times 87 right now? Not really, but they're saying in the future you might be able to by connecting an actual CPU to your brain. I was like, whoa, where are we right now? This is wild. So that's pretty cool. So now let's take a look at, again, that was Intel, right? Intel is a processing company. AMD is also a processing company.
So today we're actually at a local school in Toronto, Canada, and we're showcasing VR powered by Radeon. We are showcasing it to students and teachers, and the experiences have been amazing.
It was an opportunity that Kellen Lamb, who teaches computers and math and science, got us into, and he was looking for a group of enthusiastic kids, and there's nothing more enthusiastic than a group of grade 9 kids.
So what made me open to the VR demo today is that I want the kids to be able to experience VR because we are talking about current events in the technology field, and some of their schoolwork has been about virtual reality and how that's changing the world as we know it. I can see that this can relate into the classroom, especially in things like mathematics. Drawing shapes and structures in 3D would be really helpful to understand how the system functions, as opposed to trying to hold up 3 meter sticks and showing X, Y, and Z axes.
Within 2 seconds of practice, I could pretty much represent any function that I wanted to on the board. Just being able to draw 2 different functions and see the intersection point and then be able to rotate those around any axis you wanted being able to visualize it that easily, that's something that I know from university. It took me a year or two to visualize that and fully comprehend it. So if they could do it in a class or two, I mean, they're already going to be 10 steps ahead of their teachers that had to do it the old school method.
I wasn't really expecting any of this going in, and then when I saw it, everything was really nice, and it was actually such a good experience to see this.
It's actually so real.
All right, you want to look to your right a little bit, to your right, slowly up, to your right, more to your right.
Oh, it's actually a ship.
Yeah.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, if I had a couple of classes that were using VR, I'd probably be more engaged because it would be more fun. It would also be more interactive with the type of lessons, and it was actually really cool.
If we had VR in classroom, it would be amazing because it's a great visual tool.
Yeah, if we had VR in our classrooms, it would be really immersive and we'd be able to understand a lot more. Well, at least I think so.
We're opening up everything for the future. We love to talk about 21st century learning, and we love to say what it's like. We're 16 years into it, we still don't know what it's like. This seems a natural progression of what we're doing, and this gives us the opportunity that we wouldn't otherwise have.
We get students now jumping into math class. We've got the top 10% that are full into it and try things at home. And you've got 80-90% of that class that is just doing the math because it's there in the textbook and they have to follow that example. But if you're able to pull it into a program like the VR headset where they were generally interested and wanted to try it and were excited about it every single day coming to math class, just a lot easier to teach when everyone has a smile on their face and everyone's passionate about what they're doing.
Super exciting when it's a demo and it's probably the first day and they're all super, it's great, and they got one set and there's 35 kids and you don't know what to do with those 35 kids because they're just watching, by the way. And then they're texting and then the other one's still doing it and they're having a great, by the way, they have a great time. You gotta understand that. Like, they're in these headsets, you can't see anything, that screen is legitimate, you will be screaming, you don't know where things are, you've got earphones on, and you lose complete track of your actual reality. And we always get good feedback from the kids. We can do this at the end, but if you did have an Android device, not available for iPhones, I'm not surprised. They do have 360 videos, but for the Cardboard app, for Android, you could download it. And basically, when you got to a YouTube video that had 360 in it, that would show up, and it splits the video into two lenses, and then you put the thing on your face, and then you get that full immersive experience, but we won't worry about that. All right, so how do we do this? Let me get this full screen again. Come on now. Whatever, it doesn't matter. 1, we have a dream lab. We have 11, 10, technically, that one's broke. We have 10 HTC Vive stations. They are not meant to work together. This is supposed to be an individual experience because you have these base stations on tripods that are supposed to send a beam of light, infrared, across the way, and then your headset and your controllers pick up on that movement, and everything's great, and then we put 10 in the same room, and we try to put 10 sensors together, and all the sensors bounced off of each other. Made no sense. So then I had to scale this back a little bit. We started with 2, and then we started with 3, and we kept building this up and building this up. And then now I basically divided the room into 2 arrays. We have 5 over here and 5 over here, and you've seen it. Right? It's actually well set up. If I do say so myself. And there's 2 sensors on this side and 2 sensors on this side with sheets hanging down so they don't interfere with each other. And it works 90% of the time. It's not 100. You'll be in a headset, and then it'll float to the other side of the room. And the kids are like, "What is happening?" And I'm like, "Take the headset off. Don't move with it." So it's a little frustrating, especially if you're going in there in your first lesson and you've spent time on this, and then it miserably fails. That's the thing they don't teach at school, by the way. They should be a class on how to fail lesson plans immediately. There should be one, because they don't teach that in school. And how do you react to it? As a student teaching at Mask, and I was differentiating a test and somehow mixed the A group with the C group and made a copy set and handed it out, and then the questions poured down on me, and I'm like, I don't know what happened. So, it's if you really lower your expectations, but, again, it's high risk, high reward here. The kids are going to remember, but you're risking everything because it really could go to crap. Now, we're a 42-minute class period school. Are we in the same boat? Okay. So plan on a 15-minute lesson. A, if you have 30 kids, how are you going to get them all in the headsets? Okay. B, dizziness. Okay. C, it'll allow time for failure, as things are getting up and running. Obviously, we talked about the Google Cardboards, and Oculus Quest for recruitment, and then creating those 360 videos to document projects is really neat. So this is a GIF. Thank you. It's funny because I was at a design meeting yesterday, and they were saying GIF, so debate's still up. We were covered in the news, and this is kind of what they had, and these students are working on a science program by taking apart some white blood cells and seeing how they work. And this is a biology class, if I remember correctly. So this is kind of what our setup actually looks a little different. This is from last year now. But the biggest feedback we get is this is so cool. This is so cool. We have determined from the Stanford Virtual Human Interaction Lab that it is 76 more effective than traditional learning. We conducted an action research at Mercy that found that using VR increased the scores of the biology students' assessment grades. They did the same thing, so they separated the classes, did a traditional lesson, and on the other side did the VR lesson, and the scores were higher because information was retained more because they were engaged, right? It all makes sense. So that was really cool to see that. Like if it was equal, oops, we didn't do our job, but it actually worked out nicely. Just this year, the Pennsylvania School for the Deaf wanted to visit our VR lab. I was like, heck yeah, come on out, this will be a great time. And then they got there and I was like, wait a second, as soon as you're in the VR lab, we lose communication. Because you can't hear anything. So I had to prep them prior to listen, once you're in that VR headset, you got nothing. Right? You only have your eyes. There was one interpreter, and that seemed chaotic, but they interviewed every one of these kids and put it together, and every single one of them was blown away. And we just had them in some simple apps. That math program that they were using, they were drawing lines, that's just called Tilt Brush. It's literally a paint. It's Microsoft Paint in 3D. So that's all they were using. So now you can use that drawing app for a variety of different lessons. This was their coordinator. She was in a mindfulness app. Nature walks. Put you in, and it was just walking through the apps. And again, as soon as you're in, you don't know where you're at anymore. And then we threw her in a Jurassic Park one, and that was fun. So they really had a great time, and our computer tech students, my students, really helped them kind of get into it. And guess what? Very little instruction in terms of how to control. They just jumped into it. Remember, these kids are smarter than us, so they'll just figure it out. They'll press buttons. They don't really care. They'll just do it. So don't be afraid of not having to know it. They will problem solve. Managing equipment is tough. Yes, agreed. You are the most important part. You sort of have to believe in what you're doing here. Again, I'm waiting. They are developing a computer building simulation app. So as soon as that comes out, I will be taking my own kids in there to physically work, virtually work on computers, even though we can physically work on them. We'll be able to use that lab to the best of our ability. Lots of patience required, need a lot of time to evaluate apps, and lesson prep can be more time consuming. Those three things are nightmares for teachers. There goes your summer break, right? But you will have increased engagement. It will make learning fun. You will laugh. There's a lot of fun there. It immerses your student in the content that you're trying to get through them. Attila the Hun is not that scary on a textbook. But get him in your ear, and it changes everything. It will block out distractions because naturally you're in the headset. We've learned that it does increase student performance, and it is, again, used as a great recruitment tool. I'll share this with you. But some of the resources we have created, for us is taking some time, but for business, you can create your own real estate tours, if you really want to get into that. You can be a travel agent and create a street view of the different places you want. I mean, if you have not been in Google Earth in a VR headset, you are missing out, because the first time it zooms out of the world and you're standing on top of it, you will have that sinking pit in your stomach as you're looking at everything. It's really cool. Online meetings with Engage. There's even like a VR chat, so you could have the kids like talking to each other virtually. The Wall Street Journal has some VR current events, which you can check out. And then we're talking about science with the body, space exploration, Mars curiosity. This is cool. I was just in this the other day, and it's basically the most basic inspector gadget you'll ever see. And the graphics aren't great. You know, it reminds me of N64, you know, but when you get into the house and there's a gun and bullets and bullet casings, then you're going around the room and now you're doing this like investigation thing where you have to mark stuff. And it was really cool. And nobody could solve the mystery within the 42 minutes except for my one computer tech kid who is scary bright. Very concerned now that he can solve murders. We're going to have to check into what he's been doing at home. I don't know. Women's History Month with Google VR, Courage to Question, the New York Times, guided meditation, and the World Cultures with Egyptian tombs. I mean, there's all these resources out there that, you know, I'll share with you, but it's out there. So if you were kind of reluctant, how am I going to apply this to me? We have stuff, you know, that you can do. Some stuff, YouTube 360, Wall Street Journal Tour Creator. This is kind of what it looks like. Okay, health occupations, again, they can actually break down the skeletal bone, so, you know, if there's an AP course and you want to explore some of this stuff, it's really nice. Again, guided meditation, and that's the gist of, by the way, 35 minutes, you're welcome, okay? Did I say 35? I told you 35, and that's all it's going to be unless you want to stick around and play. But that's like where we're at in VR. We are going to continue pushing forward. When the Oculus Quest going out, I'm immediately buying it. And I need to see if that will improve the experience. Because if we can cut out the setup, that will immediately turn this into a fully engaging sort of lesson. We can just cut out all the nonsense of setting up. I mean, we got Chromebooks. You got, remember netbooks? Give me a second. You like the time and the sweat is going in, like, please just do it now. Do it now. And then it's like updating Windows, and you're like, no, I don't need this right now. You know, we're back, you know, it always resets. The wheel of fortune, right? We're back at the bottom of VR, and it's going to crest eventually to where it's super easy to use. So have faith in it and try it out. And please, come on out. I'll get you in the headsets, I'll bring you up into the VR lab, I'll show you how everything is set up, and then I'll make you sign a non-disclosure. I'm just kidding. But no, we're willing to share. We just wanted to make sure that you knew that we had it first. That's very important for us to know that. But I'm more than willing to actually bring out a demo VR to your school. This laptop is our mobile VR station. So this can actually drive one of the headsets and the sensors, and I can take this to any place. I took this to St. Chris. Listen, St. Chris is in the Northeast. I went to St. Chris. Getting to Mercy from St. Chris is 2 buses. Hell yeah, I brought a virtual reality computer with me. Are you kidding me? That's a very hard sell from the Northeast to get down to North Philly. But this was, I mean, I had kids that didn't care about Mercy, but they were like, can I get in the headset? I was like, yeah, come on and get the headset. It was fun. You know, again, you got to know what you're doing, but once you have it, it's really great. It's really great. So, any final questions before you can start exploring? I'll help you get in the headsets and all that fun stuff. Yes, sir.
I've used it for like PlayStation 4.
Oh, yeah.
Would it be similar to that? Or
It is similar. So the View, right? That's what it's called. I think the View works off of the camera sensor system, right, on PlayStation. So it's very similar in a way. You know, Fallout VR could run on this headset, just like the PlayStation headset. Is there 2 controllers? I've never used it. Yeah. So the 2 controllers, so that's motion capture. Yeah, I would say it's similar, and if you know, I think Arkham Asylum was a Batman game that you could play, and like the first time people shot the grappling hook up and they flew up via VR, like it was really capturing. And then even the Nintendo Switch has the Labo. Have you heard of this Labo nonsense? It's basically a cardboard that you build, and then you can put the controllers in it and fish and like do all these cool little things. But they now have, it's really stupid, but they now have a thing where you can put the Switch in a virtual reality headset and you play the game like this, like an idiot. But they turned one of their most expansive games, Breath of the Wild, Zelda, which is the biggest, largest Zelda game they've ever created, and they turned it completely into VR. I don't understand how they did it, but they did it. So it's, like I said, it's $40 to get a VR kit for the Switch. So the accessibility, that's what we're talking about. Like they're getting it into more people's hands. You know, this is going to be, Fortnite in VR is coming. I'm waiting for it. You know, it's going to happen. You've heard about it. You know, eventually that's certainly going to happen. And yeah, very similar in tech, for sure. Yeah. Anything else? All right, well, my email is here. Feel free to email me. Oh, who's got it? You?
I was actually going to mention. Another advertising thing we did a bit ago. I don't know if we're doing it, but on For Imprint, they have the little viewers. They work exactly like the cardboard viewers, and you could get your school logo or whatever.
Oh, cool.
On it. And we gave those away. I think they were what, like $2?
I think $4. Once you have your logo on them.
Yeah.
So it's like the number 4 Imprint.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and you get little viewers. It's not a cardboard one, but it kind of looks like glasses that the way you wear them, just flip them the other way, and you slide your phone in, and anybody can use them. We would just give it to students as prizes for being a good student. Get your logo on it, and that's kind of a good entry level. Like, don't have to build a Google cardboard, but a good price.
Seventh grade visitation pops to my mind for that. And just to tie everything back to scratch and coding, I introduced this to my freshmen. And one of my kids made this in 4 days, and I questioned him on it because I was like, whoa, wait a second. Are you sure you made this? You didn't remix this? Because you can like take code from other stuff. No, as a 14, 15-year-old created a fighting game that is both two-player, and you can move around and jump and all that fun stuff. So there's physics in it, and he's currently working on it, and it's wild, and I don't understand it. This kid has been in my class for 8 weeks, and he has not told me that he was in the game development. So now I'm going to kind of pad this for him. And he's kind of a sad case. And you know, we have all those sad cases. And now I found something that he's really good at, and now even my sophomores were like, that's all they did. They didn't say anything. They were just like, okay. You know, and that day. So he gained a lot of respect. So the coding does work, you know, for the confidence building. So thank you very much, Sean from Mercy, CTE.
Can anyone experience it?
Yeah.
So, there you go. I was on the roller coaster, and that was it. And then when it went down, I'm like,
Yeah, I'll just put you in the lab. I'll put you in our school. It won't be anything too crazy.
You haven't tried it, you can get it.
So if anybody wants to jump in, feel free. Oh, and cleanliness and hygiene. Got to wipe these headsets down with disinfectant wipes. You know, kids are gross. That's just what they are.
We can contact the Franklin Institute again.
I mean, that was last year, and they might have them. You know, Catherine. She'll send out 55 emails and get 3 back, and she'll be like, yeah. You know, so.
I'll tell you, she's one go-getter.
She is a go-getter.
Look how successful your school is. Not just her, but everybody.
Yeah, for sure.